Hey again everybody! We're in the final month of 2021, which means it's already time for another monthly dev update. A shorter one for you guys this month, so let's just get right into it. Last month, we mentioned how the layout of the lower city was getting a revamp. Throughout November, we were able to finalise the design, which has allowed our environment artist to begin bringing this area to life. I don't know about you, but I personally can't get enough of this overgrown aesthetic. There's just something about nature slowly consuming these man-made structures that I find really visually appealing. It's been nice walking around the area and just taking in the scenery. Seeing the game finally taking shape and looking how we've wanted it to for all these years is honestly such an incredible feeling, and I can't wait to watch you guys have fun exploring and battling your way through this war-torn city. The lower city isn't the only area that we've been working on though. We've been designing many more unique and interesting areas which we know you guys are going to love traversing, but ultimately, due to spoilers, we've had to resist the urge to show you all these new locations. Many a time have I thought to myself, can we just show you a little sneak peek? But ultimately we've had to decide against it. We might be able to show off a little more over the next few months, but hey, at least this means there'll be a ton of brand new areas for you all to explore for yourselves when Vahrin's Call releases. As we approach closer and closer to the release of Vahrin's Call, a large portion of our time is dedicated towards polishing the game, so that it's in the best possible state for when we get it out to you all. Throughout November, we decided to start refining the various enemies that you'll encounter whilst roaming the world. Our objective is to complete one enemy at a time, and this month we made a start on this with the Shambler. Many improvements have been made to this enemy over the past month, which we'd like to list off for you all. Let's begin with the updates to its AI. The Shambler is now much more intelligent and responsive when placed in a combat situation. Every attack that it makes is now guaranteed to connect with you if evasive maneuvers aren't taken. The Shambler will now also recognise when it's too far away from you to perform an attack, and will move in to close the gap. We've also introduced a wider range of attack animations to this enemy, which makes the combat surrounding the Shambler much more dynamic and engaging. Some of these animations feature an attack followed by a stumble. Aside the stumble being well suited to the enemy type, it also provides a small reward to those who manage to avoid the attack, giving you the opportunity to strike the Shambler whilst it's down. By now, some of you with keen eyes may have noticed that the Shambler is black and blue instead of black and purple. When we first developed this world, purple was the colour used to represent spirit or aether as a magical element. In the final version of the Forsaken Realms lore, magic no longer works that way, and so we've chosen a ghostly blue colour to better represent these spirits bursting from their grotesque bodies. We've also refined their body textures to better resemble the oily, gloop-like substance that they're supposed to be made out of, but this is probably a little more difficult to see until you get your hands on the game yourself. We could have left this as it was, as it wasn't hurting anybody after all, but we hope you'll agree that keeping the integrity of lore in a fantasy universe is key to our vision, even things as small as the colour of spirits. Another quality of life change that we've made to not only the Shambler but enemies in general is the VFX when they're dying. Before, we had a general visual effect that played underneath an enemy when it died to symbolise its spirit evaporating and returning to the land. With the refined version, we weren't happy with just changing the colour, and so we revamped it to improve it even further. Now when an enemy dies, the particles are generated directly from the corpse, creating a much more believable result. It's not quite so noticeable on these smaller enemies, but on the larger foes you'll be fighting, it makes quite the difference. The final thing that was updated on the Shambler this month is its sound effects. With a complete revamp of the old sounds and the addition of many new ones to accompany the new animations, the Shambler is now sounding a lot more like the enemy that we want it to be. Comparing the old version of this enemy from early November to the refined one that we have now is night and day, and really gets me excited to apply this level of polish to all of the other enemies in the game. And with that being said, that concludes this month's dev update for November 2021. I know a lot of you are probably a little disappointed that this month's dev update was short, but unfortunately a significant portion of the things that we worked on throughout November contain heavy spoilers, and as a result there just wasn't as much that we were able to show this time round. With that being said though, our next dev update is sure to be much bigger, as we have something pretty cool lined up to show you all. As a heads up, everyone on the team is going to be taking a couple of weeks off throughout December to spend some time with family and get some much needed rest. As such, our next update will be at the beginning of February, and we'll cover everything that we've worked on throughout the first half of December and all of January. Thank you all for an amazing year, and I hope you all have a lovely Christmas, wherever you might be out there in the big wide world. Take care guys, we'll catch you all in 2022.